Welcome back to the channel. Tonight we're doing something a little different. Instead of a technical video installing parts or working on a vehicle, I'm actually going to show you my toolbox. Show you the tools that I use every single day to work on these cars and vans, and some of my favorite tools to make it happen here at the shop. So come with me, we'll go through my toolbox. This is my Snap-on 84-inch Epic. Fortunately, we have a large shop and I can use the large box to move around the shop and go from bay to bay and have all the tools with me for the most part that I need for all the different jobs that we do. So I do have a large box with a hutch and cabinet and power tool case and all that in one of my bays that just stays put. And it has a lot of specialty tools and stuff like that that I wouldn't really want to move around from bay to bay. But the way we work here in the shop, we move around a lot from one bay to another. Alignments in one bay, air lockers in another, diagnostics in another. We do a lot of moving around. So guys will usually work with a tool cart and move from, bay to bay throughout the day. So it's pretty important that we're able to be mobile. But it's really nice, being it is a big shop, to not have to make a ton of trips back and forth to your box. So having a large box with everything that you need is really, really nice. So I opted for this large Epic. I love the 30-inch deep drawers. I can fit pretty much everything I need to work on pretty much every vehicle that we work on and not have to make a trip to my big case, except for a few special occasions. So I'm gonna take you through the box drawer by drawer, show you how I have it set up, what I like to use, and just give you a quick tour. So check it out. Alright, so I'm filming this alone, so here we go. I'll start off on the top and show you kind of how I have everything laid out as far as screens and what have you. Up on top, I've got a couple of iPads here. This pretty much I use to run music in the shop. We've got it paired to a big Bluetooth speaker here in the shop, so we run music. I get alerts and stuff like that as well, text and whatnot. So that always just stays on my toolbox. I have another iPad with a keyboard here. I use this to run Shop Monkey, our shop management software, so I can use this to check in customers. I can take it out to the vehicle, take photos with it, go from vehicle to vehicle, and document things on different work orders. Just run our shop management software. It's a very convenient tool for that. I can use the keyboard, so it's basically like having a small laptop with me wherever I need to go. I've got a nice hard case for it, so that's a very handy tool there. Obviously my MacBook here. This I basically use for service writing and all of my email and everything I could possibly need a computer for here at my workstation. Because I am the owner and do a little bit of everything in the shop, I still do a lot of service writing. I do a lot of sales and that kind of work while I'm here in the shop. So I might be working on a vehicle and then need to order parts or write up a work order, send an invoice. So I'm doing that right here at my toolbox. It's super convenient, so I don't have to walk back into the office and spend all the time walking back and forth. So I can just do it right here while I'm on the job and then get right back on the car. So that having the screen right here helps out tremendously. Having that big 50-inch curved monitor is really nice, so I can lay out my workflow on ShopMonkey. I can see everything that we have in the queue, everything that we have on location, everything invoiced. Just makes it really efficient that way. As far as the rest of the stuff on top of the box, got a Bluetooth speaker just for when I'm working at night. It's pretty nice for podcasts and stuff like that. Some T-handles that I like to keep out. They don't store in the box very nicely, but I use them all the time, so I like to keep them handy. Some work lights, magnetic mat, rubber gloves. I wear rubber gloves almost all day long. I have rubber gloves on, keep my hands clean, so keep the cars clean. Got a engine bay light, some really small, skinny screwdrivers here, just conveniently placed. This is my Porsche fund, so if you're ever in the shop and you get a shop tour and you want to contribute, you're welcome to. I think we're at like 13 bucks, so I've got a little ways to go, but just so you know, there's that. That's the exterior of the box. Now the fun part. Let's get into the drawers. So I'm just going to take you drawer by drawer, and in no particular order, we'll just start working through the whole box, and I will show you what I've got, kind of point out some of my favorite tools, stuff that I use regularly, and why I like it, why I choose to keep it in this box. And I'm not going to go back and forth between my dumb face and the tools. We're just going to get after it on the tools here so we can get through this and show you what I got. All right, here we go. Starting out. Got flashlights here, some of the small new snap-on quarter drive electric power tools here, torch, just some miscellaneous pens, measuring instruments, some little bits, air nozzle, Montana Knife Company knife. All right, batteries, some soldering equipment here, plastic welding as well. Headlamps, these are my favorite go-to snap-on headlamps. I wear this every single day. I wear this almost constantly when I'm in the shop. I hate not having light, so I will always have a headlamp on when I'm working on a vehicle or under it. A lot of times if you come in the shop during the day, or you come in the showroom rather during the day, if I walk out there, you'll see me wearing one of these because I'll forget to take it off. I mean, this is like uniform of the day basically for me here. Got some microfibers and some gloves. Headphones, if I'm working at night and I'm listening to a podcast or something, I'll put these on. These are noise canceling headphones. Really nice there. Another flashlight. I've got a thing for lights. Really like having plenty of light. Let's get into the power tool drawer here. So, obviously a lot of Milwaukee stuff here. This is not all of the Milwaukee that I use, but this is kind of the daily drivers, if you will. I have another large box. I think you can see it. Let's see, over there. Yeah. We've got kind of the oddball Milwaukee stuff, the big saws and the big oddball power tools, the things you don't use very often. But here, as far as mechanic type tools, is what I use all the time. We've got some M18 impact drivers of various sizes. The big dog here for getting out the stubborn bolts. Some smaller stuff. Heat gun for quick applications, some impact drivers, M18 drill, M12, 3/8 drive impact gun, stubby, M12 drill, little impact gun, and then some of the snap-on tools. I really like the rocker switch style snap-on guns here. It's just for that rocker style switch. That's really my favorite feature with the snap-on guns. I like the torque ring as well, so when I'm doing air filter boxes, when I'm doing the torque screws on those, I'll use this snap-on gun constantly for that, and I'll just set the torque down like at 5, and then I can just buzz those screws in and out really quickly with that snap-on gun. It works really nicely. A quarter drive impact and a 3/8 drive impact. Love the high vis stuff from Snap-on, so anything with bright colors. If it's purple or if it's high vis, I gotta have it. A couple of chargers in here. I love the charging bank that comes in the Snap-on box. It's really convenient. So that's kind of the stuff I usually keep in the power tool drawer here, and I use the majority of this every single day. And I've got another power tool drawer here I'll show you. We'll just jump to that next. Kind of show you the rest of the power tool stuff that I use here. We've got a couple of work lights. Milwaukee work light. That's a really nice underlift light or under vehicle light. Magnetic light. There's another one that I like to use quite a bit. We've got a hacksaw. It's kind of a small sawzall that works nicely. Cordless grinder. Keep that in here. A couple of die grinders. I'll keep these equipped with a burr. Just a couple different style burrs for various tasks that we might need. An electric rivet gun. That's very, very useful for fastening. Nice, rivets are a nice clean way to fasten things. 1/2 inch M12 impact. 3/8 M12, 3/8 impact as well. Soldering gun, and then a multi-tool. The multi-tool is super handy for cutting plastic and stuff like that. We use that all the time doing bumper installs, things like that. And then this is the Snap-on extended high torque ratchet. Super nice to have that extended length high torque ratchet. These are really, really nice for getting those kind of hard to reach tight places underneath the vehicle. So that one works really well. I also keep some drill bits in here. I'm a big fan of the Black Widow stuff, so I have a couple of sets of the Black Widow drill bits. I'll just keep these in here all the time. So I've got 2 full sets of those. These guys are great. If you break them or wear them out, you just give them a call, and they'll just send you brand new ones, brand new replacements. No questions asked. They just send them to your house, or to the shop rather. So those sets are great. I've got some Black Widow step drills as well. Milwaukee with the quick release shank, and then with the standard style shank. Various drills there. Some rubbing alcohol for just quick cleanup for like decal removal and stuff like that. I just keep a bottle of alcohol in there. Let's go back over to this side and finish up. Kind of my electrical diagnostic drawer. I keep my Autel multi-sys scan tool in here. This is a pretty heavy duty scan tool. I can use it on really any vehicle. Works on Mercedes, Porsche, all your domestic stuff. But I use this when I don't want to bust out the Zentry scan tool, or if it's occupied on another vehicle, I'll use this. Or if I'm doing something out on the road and I need to take something that's portable and easy, I'll use the Autel. We also use this for all of the ADAS stuff, for multifunction sensor programming, camera programming, all that kind of stuff. This is a super powerful tool, so this is very handy. Battery tester, label maker, a couple of multimeters, test leads, all kinds of test lights, stuff like that. So just kind of an electrical test drawer. And then this is a little bit of miscellaneous stuff: snacks, Loctite, thread locker, thread sealant, oil fill funnel with adapters. Got eraser wheel, transmission fill kit for the 9G-tronic. Pretty important. Some miscellaneous tapes, magnetic parts trays, a bit of a catch-all drawer, some wire wheels for cleaning up rusty brake rotors and hubs and stuff like that. Let's go to here. Striking drawer. Just, these are pretty much the main hammers I use all the time. I do have some other like really large stuff and kind of oddball hammers, some construction hammers, stuff like that, but this is pretty much what I use all the time. You know, we got some bronze hammers for, you know, when you don't need to mar up a surface, dead blows, and then of course some snap-on hammers for everyday use. Some picks, various picks, long picks, small picks. Of course, I like the pink stuff. I like the new electric pink. It's really cool compared to just the regular pink. So these are the new electric pink screwdrivers, the miniature ones. I had to have those. Just some small hex key sets. Some plastic picks, calipers, some torque sticks. Don't use those very much, but every once in a while they're handy when you're running an air gun and you want to just ensure that you don't over torque something and you want to buzz it on there really quick. It's nice to have some torque sticks. Screw extractor sets, a couple of those. Pretty handy. Down here, we've got a few air tools. I don't use a ton of air tools, but I do use them on occasion. They're nice to have when you need them. There's a time and place for them still. You know, electric is great, but sometimes it's really nice to have an air impact gun. So the feel of it is nice. There's just a certain way that it hits differently compared to an electric. So for certain things like putting preload on a pinion nut, I'll use an air impact gun versus electric, because you can set that preload a little bit more precisely. So I'll use that instead of the electric gun. Air grinder, more angle grinders, die grinder, air saw. Use this stuff quite a bit when we're doing cutting fenders and, you know, enlarging body panels when we need to make clearance for larger tires. Tire pressure gauge, some brake caliper, hangers. We've got an injector line wrench set. That's very handy for pulling injectors on different vehicles. Super handy to have. Battery load tester, windshield removal tool for cutting out windshields or windows. Very nice to have that tool. The old Maddox heavy duty oil filter wrench set. That's actually incredibly handy, and can't beat the Harbor Freight price on that. So, hey, I'm not knocking Harbor Freight. For certain things, it's great. And a fish tape. I actually use a fish tape quite a bit when we're running cables in and out of some of these vans. We use fish tapes all the time, getting cables in and out of tight spots. All right, screwdriver drawer. We have all kinds of different screwdrivers, mostly snap-on stuff here. We've got your standard flathead, Phillips, all your different sizes, some stubbies. This is a pretty decent set that covers most everything I need. I've got Torx here, various sizes. These are just standard Torx drivers. I use this quite often. Up here I have some trim fastener removal tools. I've got valve stem removal tools, some drain plug removal magnets, some pry bars, some various magnets for when you drop bolts, some more trim tools, scrapers, some plastic scrapers, some pry bars, carbide scraper, and I've got, you know, full sets of a lot of this stuff. These are just the sizes that I use on a regular basis, so I keep them in this box because I find that these are what I use all the time. You know, that carbide scraper is part of a full set. This one I use more than any other size, so I just keep it here. Hose removal tools. These are awesome for removing hoses from radiators, EGR valves, EGR coolers, things like that. You're not going to cut the hose with this, so you can just reach out under there and pull the hose off. Very, very handy. A couple different styles there. Another parts magnet, parts grabber here. And then this is a set of JIS screwdrivers. JIS is Japanese industry standard screwdrivers. Obviously we work on mostly German vehicles, but I do have a lot of Japanese toys, motorcycles, things like that. So the JIS stuff is really handy for when you're working on the Japanese parts. The Japanese fasteners are a slightly different size. Like the Phillips, etc. That tip is going to be a slightly different size than your standard P2. So the JIS screwdriver will fit better, and you won't round out that fastener as easily as using the Phillips. So that's why I have those. Plus they're purple. You got to have a purple, right? So that is the screwdriver drawer. All right, moving on. Pliers drawer. So, God, that's a little disorganized. So we've got a lot of different plier options here. Some sets, some small stuff here that's really handy when you need something really small. Just everything from side cutters to needle nose, regular pliers. I've got the brake line stop tools for when you're removing brake lines and you don't want to have fluid leaking everywhere. These work really, really well. Some shears, exhaust hanger removal tool, various vice grips, wire strippers, nice pair of scissors. This is a really handy tool, razor blade cutter. We use this for cutting large gauge cable, wire cable. You can use it for cutting nylon lines, all kinds of stuff. That's a very handy tool. Crimp tools, fuel filter, clamp removal tool, flush cuts, lots of different flush cuts. I use those every single day. Hose clamp removal tool, spring style hose clamp removal tool. This is absolute must have. I use that constantly. We're doing EGR valve removal, any sort of spring style hose clamp removal. I use that. That thing is invaluable. Some hemostat and various size vice grips. All kinds of different pliers and such here. Really long bent nose, needle nose. Those are pretty handy on occasion. Various wire strippers, crimpers for the terminal connectors on the back of the factory switches. We use those a lot. More crimpers, shears, lineman pliers, CV boot crimp tool, wire strippers. These are the super strong snap-on I forget what they call those pliers, but you can pick up a nickel on with the edge, you know, the edge of the nickel, the raised edge of the nickel. These are really, really great pliers. I've got various sizes of those. Heavy duty wire shears, like piano wire. You can cut piano wire with these. Pretty stinking awesome. Some snap ring removal. I've got a set of these. This is just the one size I use all the time. High leverage pliers. Got some pretty cool electrical plug removal pliers as well, and an electrical plug removal tool here. You can use this for removing some of the hard to remove electrical connectors, like under an engine bay, or in an engine bay rather, and they get really hot and brittle over time. You can use this to get in there and hook that connector and pull the plug out, and this works really, really well. Safety wire pliers, a must for doing anything with safety wire. Small hemostat. I use most everything in here at least once during the week. I use all this stuff quite a bit. Oh, and an inspection mirror. That's a must-have. All right, moving on up. This is called the speed drawer. That's what Snap-on calls this little skinny drawer. A lot of miscellaneous things in here. Punches, chisels. I've got a bunch of Sharpies. I use Sharpies all the time. Razor blades. Got the standard style razor blade, and also rounded corner style. Use razor blades all the time. I always carry this Paichi razor blade knife with me, so I always have a razor blade on me. Keep tons of razor blades in the toolbox. Step drills, more Black Widow step drills here. Various keychain bit holders here, so I can kind of outfit these if I'm working on a project and I know exactly what I'm going to need as far as bits go. I can kind of outfit one of these keychains with a bunch of them, and then just throw that on a belt loop and keep it with me. Some extra bits, usually large stuff here that doesn't fit in a case. Blades for the hacksaw, sawzall, some various taps, different burrs, a couple of reamers, 90-degree drill attachment, some extensions, barrel sanders, more step drills, more extension tools, a couple of drifts, which are pretty handy, another inspection mirror, valve core removal tool rather, tire pressure gauges, feeler gauge, carbide scribe, deburring tool, some torque lock for marking torque bolts, brake pad measurement tool, tire tread depth gauge, thread chasing tool. This is part of a set, but well, I've got a set of these that I use all the time, but this one I use regularly for brake caliper bolts, so I keep that in here because we're always chasing those brake caliper bolts when we're doing brake jobs. So just have an extra one just for that. It's a speed drawer. Alright, these top three drawers I use more than anything else in this toolbox. So we'll start with this, wrenches. These are kind of the prettiest drawers, I think. A little bit of everything in here. This is definitely not all of the wrenches that I have, because there's, of course, many other wrenches that you need in the shop for specialty applications. but this kind of covers most of your daily need. Of course, there's really big stuff that you've got to have from time to time. I only have one really large wrench in here. This is 36 mil rather, for fan clutch nuts on the Sprinter, the OM642. But I don't want to clutter up my rolling box with a bunch of huge wrenches, so kind of the stuff you need most. Over here we've got metric. Some AN wrenches, adjustable AN, some non-adjustable AN. This stuff is for building oil cooler lines, fuel lines, whatever kind of lines we use AN fittings on. These wrenches are great because they won't mark up your AN anodized fittings. Not super organized here, but kind of running out of space in this drawer. Some small ratcheting box end wrenches, metric, of course. These are great. These are ratcheting flex head, extended length box wrenches from Snap-on. These are really, really great. You can get a lot of leverage on them, and they have a raised side and then a flush side. So the raised side is great for certain applications for getting in there. There's a couple of applications specifically where I needed that exact wrench. That's like the perfect wrench for the application. In fact, rear shock tower bolts, or nuts rather, on the Grenadier, gotta have that wrench. It's perfect. These are ultra slim end wrenches. Let's see if I can get it. Yeah. Ultra slim. So a full set of these really slim wrenches. You'll need those on occasion. I use these two wrenches occasionally, 15 and a 14 millimeter. These are pretty cool. I can't find them anymore. I don't think that anybody makes them, but it's a 90-degree twist end wrench, so you can put your palm on it and have a nice flat surface when you're wrenching with the other end. You get a lot of leverage that way. Very cool. Some crow's feet, various sizes. The stuff that I use regularly I keep in this box. Some line wrench, crow's feet rather, for sensors, O2 sensors, EGT sensors, NOx sensors. So those are always sticky and real stubborn to get out, so I keep those on hand. These weird looking wrenches, believe it or not, can be extremely handy for certain applications when you need to get around, say, a drive shaft or an exhaust pipe or something like that. You can reach in and get that angle with that goofy curve. So those are pretty useful. Not very often, but when you need them, you need them. This is cool. This wrench is super cool. One of my favorite tools in my entire collection. This is a Mercedes-Benz original oil filter wrench. This came out of my 1959 Mercedes 190D. And this is an original tool that would come stock in Mercedes cars, and it's for removing the oil filter on those cars. It's a 14 millimeter hex. You can use it for the drain plugs on the Sprinter rear differential. Still to this day, right there. It's hard to see, but right there. Pretty cool. So I still use this to this day. Really nice tool. I use this actually on a lot of the new modern SUVs, the GL series SUVs, for the rear differential drain plug. It's got a really tight clearance in there, and that offset, that angle, and that curve there make this the perfect tool for it. A couple more line wrenches, more crow's feet. These are really nice. The soft handle box wrenches. You can use this. I use this all the time when I'm doing, say, installing struts or rear shocks. I can use this on one end to back up a bolt and then run the impact gun on the other side. This doesn't hurt your hands, which is really, really nice, having that nice soft grip. So all day long when you're running that against an impact gun versus using a standard wrench, that saves your hands. And it does add up over the course of days and days of running a wrench. These are Mac ratcheting wrenches. I've got Imperial here, metric. These are flex head. So sometimes you need the flex, sometimes you don't want the flex. And that's when I use these. I've got these in a 12-point and a 6-point box. I think I just have the 12-point in here right now. I think the 6-point are in my other box. These are a Mac I-beam wrench. I think this is what they call these. And it's probably one of the most comfortable wrenches that I've found, one of the most ergonomically pleasing wrenches that you can use. The design of this feels really good in your hand. The offset is perfect. I use these for the front struts on the Sprinter, the upper strut nut on the inside of the Sprinter. Just a lot of stuff like that. These wrenches are perfect for. So I use this set all the time. Bottle opener. E-Torx wrenches. Sometimes you need an E-Torx wrench. This one I have modified with the correct offset for something. I don't remember what, but it's perfect for that application. And then some more ratcheting wrenches, Snap-on, Imperial ratcheting wrenches. Some adjustable wrenches. These are really nice. I like these Snap-on for some applications because they have a very narrow end here. They're beautiful wrenches, but they're nice and narrow. So for certain applications, these are great. And then other times you don't want that narrow. You want a wider jaw, and I'll use these Milwaukee wrenches. And then some stubby metric ratcheting wrenches. That's the wrench drawer. One of my favorite drawers. All right. Moving on to the ratchets. Ratchets and extensions. Various extension sets. 1/2 inch non-impact, 3/8 impact, 3/8 non-impact, non-wobble, 3/8 non-impact wobble, locking 3/8, very handy. Quarter drive wobble, quarter drive non-wobble, and then a bunch of different ratchets. Extended quarter locking. I mean, these are perfect. No 10 mil left behind is the motto with these extensions. Fantastic, especially this long socket. I can't tell you how many times I've needed to use something like this to reach way up in an engine bay or down below in an engine bay, and then you go to pull out your assembly, your extension and socket, and then you bump the socket and you lose it, and then you're going searching for that socket. This prevents that. It's great. And then here we have more extensions, impact extensions. These are really cool. Goliath, they call these. I'm trying to remember who makes these. Astro Tools, I think. Yeah, Astro is who makes these. And these transfer a lot more torque than, say, your standard 1/2 inch extension would. So you can see the difference in thickness here between the two. This is your Snap-on and the Astro. But this will transfer far more torque than this one would. So usually I don't need it putting stuff on, but for breaking things that are really stuck or stubborn, sometimes I'll need something like this, because you'll be able to transfer far more torque removing that fastener than with your standard impact. And then a few other impacts here. short, a swivel, another swivel extension, and then this is a hammer style impact. You hit this with a hammer and it will turn the fastener left or right depending on how you have it set. Ratchets, some of my favorite tools. I've got a lot of favorite ratchets, honestly. I do use most all of these regularly, but I'll say my favorite ratchets, let's just point them out here. Quarter drive body with a 3/8 head. Very handy for particular applications. There's an E10 socket that's 3/8 drive. It probably should be quarter drive, but it's 3/8. I use this ratchet for that. For EGR, valve bolts, fuel filter housing bolts, things like that in the engine bay. It's not a high torque application, so you can use a small body, and with the 3/8 socket it works great. So I use that all the time. I like the soft handle. I love the hard handle, high vis, flex head, quarter drive. This is one of my very favorite ratchets right here, and same with the 3/8 flex head. One of my all-time favorite ratchets. These two right here. If I had to give up all other ratchets, I'd probably keep those two, honestly, right there. Some weird little auto ratchets, but you can adjust the head here, index that. There are times when this is really handy, just like those curved wrenches I showed you in the other drawer. You need to get around something. Well, this makes it possible to do that, and I do use this on occasion. It works perfect for what it was designed for. Extended quarter drive ratchet. You'll need that on occasion. Locking, flex, another locking 3/8 flex. This is pretty handy. Sometimes you need this so you can spin it this way. It's a very useful style ratchet. Some stubbies, of course. Little 3/8 drive stubby, a couple of quarter drive stubbies for small spaces. A couple more hard handle quarter drives. Non-flex 3/8 in the electric pink. Just had to have the electric pink. And then a couple more 3/8 flex hard handle and a soft. The electric pink set here. I had to have the electric pink, man. I got a problem with the electric pink. But I do use these a lot. I love the soft handle, and I love the flex head. If it's up to me, I'm always going to choose a flex head if I can, versus a fixed head. I find them far more ergonomically pleasing to use and more useful than the non-flex. A couple other ratchets up here. Don't use this one very often, but on occasion it's nice to have that angle. 1/2-inch drive flex. Every single day I'm using that. Extended locking 3/8, larger 1/2-inch locking flex. My 1/2-inch electronic torque wrench. Every single day using that a ton. Another 1/2-inch drive flex. 3/8 impact. 3/8 torque wrench. Every single day I'm using this. Torque wrenches I'm using constantly. Also quarter drive torque. All of these you measure all different units of torque and also degrees. So we do a lot of torque to yield stuff that require you to torque first pass in, say, Newton meters, and then second pass in degrees. So you can do that with all these torque wrenches. That's why we use digital stuff. You can torque those torque to yield bolts very easily with a digital wrench. And then, of course, this massive 3/4 drive Vampo wrench up here. This goes to 1,000 foot-pounds. I believe it's 1,000, or is it 12? I think it's 1,000 foot-pounds. That's for Porsche center lock wheels. That's what I use that for. Don't have to use that very often, but when they do come in, I've got it. I couldn't spring for the $5,000 electronic one, so the electronic center lock tool. So the torque wrench it is. And then got a couple of pocket pry bars. I'm always wearing one. I don't know if you notice, but I'm always wearing one of these pocket pry bars. They're super useful for various things, from scraping grease off of stuff to you can use it like a flathead screwdriver. Sometimes you can just use it for, prying electrical connectors, things like that. But what I use it for in this drawer and in my socket drawer up above is for removing sockets from ratchets. If it's a really tight socket, like a new socket, or it's really tight to get off of the ratchet, you just use this to pop it right off of there. So I always have these handy. But I'm always wearing a pocket pry bar. Kind of a nerdy thing, but I use it constantly, so I feel naked without it. All right, let's move on to the last drawer. All right, the last drawer, socket drawer. This one's pretty as well. A little bit of everything in here. Again, this is definitely not everything you need to run a shop, but for most everyday situations here, working on the cars that we're working on, this covers what I need. I've got a lot of stuff over in the other box for large applications or the really weird specialty fasteners, but this kind of covers your everyday use. So we've got a lot of impact stuff, a lot of chrome, 12-point, 6-point, shallow, medium, deep, you name it. Snap-on, Milwaukee, even some Husky stuff. But for the most part, it's Snap-on is kind of my go-to. If I break it or if I need a replacement, it's easy to get one off the truck every week. So that's why I buy it, and it's just really nice stuff. So what do we have? Half-inch drive mid-depth impacts, some 3/8 metric impacts. Sorry, these are the shallows. We've got mids, we've got deeps, chrome 12 points. This is all metric. All the black cases are metric. The red is either Torx or Imperial. We've got hex ball, extended, non-ball end. We've got the mid-length ball, mid-length square, the stubby hex square, Torx, E-Torx, mid-depth chrome, just some various odds and ends sockets here and there, more metric deep chrome sockets. This is a Mac set that I bought years ago that I just really love the set, so I've always kept it in this box. I'll pick these over most of these Snap-on ones all the time. I don't know why I love that set so much. That's it's just kind of always my go-to. Some swivel, metric swivel sockets, impact, some deep impact sockets here. I kind of have this set up, these two rows set up for a quick grab and go. So I've got my go-to metric sockets here. I'm always using, kind of 17 up. I'm using this section all the time. I use this short extension here. I don't have a 20 that I use. So I'm always using this up with that extension a lot. I use the swivel quite a bit there. And then I've used these mid-depth sockets here quite a bit as well. So these two rails I use all the time. 14 millimeter, 12 millimeter hex, I use those a lot. M50 Torx, I use all the time for removing the rear sway bars on the Sprinters. So these two rails I have set up for quick grab and go. 17 and 19 hex. These are a cool Milwaukee hex socket. I like the red with the 17 marked out. They're easy to spot. Some lug nut sockets here so you don't mar up your wheels. Just some more various impact sockets and Torx sockets. small stubby set here. These are really handy to have. It's got all kinds of stuff in here from Phillips flatheads, Torx, triple square, hex, you name it. This set's very convenient and is really short and stubby, so you can get into some really tight places with this set that you can't with your standard sockets. So that's very convenient. And then a super stubby socket set, which is pretty critical to have for tight spots. Over here, what else do we have? Got some more impact, 3/8 impact. Some more chrome. This is Imperial 12-point chrome. This Milwaukee set, I keep this in here not because I don't have plenty of chrome sockets, but I like the square bottom sockets here. You can put a wrench on this and turn it with a wrench if you need to. These are really a nice feeling socket. They feel great in your hand. They're easy to see the laser etching on them, and the set is laid out really nicely. But I like having this set here. I like being able to put a wrench on that if I need to. There's certain applications that I use these all the time for. Auxiliary shock mount installs on the Sprinter, I'll use a couple of these sockets for exclusively. So I keep this set in here all the time. And then I have Imperials up here, which obviously I don't have much Imperial stuff. We don't, with German cars, I don't really work on, I don't use this much, but it's nice to have a few for the odds and ends that come in that I need them. So I don't have to run over and grab my stuff out of my other box. And then this is just oddball sockets, a few large ones here. This 36, I forget what I use that for all the time. There's just a particular nut, axle nut on a particular motorcycle that I use that for. Another axle nut on a different motorcycle. There's a hub nut on Sprinter. More hex, just various miscellaneous sockets here. I need to organize this a little bit. This is a little messy. And then spark plug sockets here for removing spark plugs. These are metric plug sockets. And then here we have a couple of oil filter removal sockets. Actually use this one for removing the fuel filter on the new 23 and up Sprinters. It's a pretty standard oil filter socket for German cars. And then this is your hubcap removal tool for the AMG wheels. And this is a very custom socket that we made for removing Gorilla nuts on Sprinters. We use a lot of these aftermarket Gorilla lug nuts, and they require this special key, but it's kind of a pain to constantly be holding it in your socket and worrying about it falling out, so just weld it in there and easy peasy. And then you can see here, of course I have another pocket pry bar I always keep in this drawer, so it's easy to pop the socket off and put it back away when I need to. Oh, these are really handy. Stubby hex. So 17 mil we use for the magnetic drain plugs on the rear differentials, the aftermarket drain plugs. 14 mil for the OE drain plugs on the rear diffs for the Sprinters and the cars. Magnetic impacts. These are really handy. It's a shallow head, so you can use this to grab all kinds of fasteners when you're working in the engine bay and not worry about dropping them into the valley of death underneath the oil cooler in the engine bay. So this is really handy to have those. That pretty much covers the socket drawer. On this box I opted for the bedliner top versus the typical stainless, and I'm really happy with it. It's nice and grippy, so nothing, when I'm rolling this thing around the shop, nothing wants to slide off. The only thing that some people would say is a drawback is it's hard to write on it. You know, if you're going to write on a work order or something, you can't really write on this, but I just put a notepad down and then you're just fine. I'd much rather live with that than have the stainless top. I much prefer the bed liner style. It has the charging ports here on top on both ends. So you have all the outlets plus USBs right here on top out of the way. My other box in the other room, my big hutch, it has charging ports on the front. And when you have stuff plugged in there and you're trying to open and close the drawers, those cords are always hanging in your way and you're pinching the cords. You're always bumping the plugs. So I think having the plugs up there on the top is a great design. I really like it. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed the toolbox tour. Appreciate you hanging out and let me show you my toolbox and kind of what I use on a daily basis to do my job and work on your vehicles. If you guys have ideas for something you'd like to see a video on, shoot me a message or drop a comment below. I really appreciate it. If you aren't a subscriber, appreciate you subscribing as well. And thanks again for watching. We'll see you on the next video.